Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I have to talk about two big announcements that were made earlier this month in December. The first one we'll talk about is flagpoling. So as of December 24th, there is no more flagpoling in Canada. So first, what is flagpoling? Flagpoling is when someone who's already inside Canada wants to change their status by going to the US border and coming back to apply for something like a new study permit or a new work permit. Depending on the situation, this is allowed, or now was allowed, and people used it as a way to get same-day service, basically. So normally, you would apply online from inside Canada with IRCC for a new status, for an extension as a student or a worker. But the problem is that this usually takes a while to process. It can take months and months. So people didn't want to wait months for a new permit. So what they would do is go to the border, flagpole, which means running around the flagpole, coming back to Canada, and applying for a new status. This same-day service comes at the cost of getting assessed and processed by CBSA, not IRCC. So they not only process the immigration side, they also process border security side, which can have negative consequences, including potentially being refused re-entry back into Canada. But people weighed the risks and advantages, and if you can get same-day service, why not do it? However, as of December 24th, you can no longer do this. There are some exceptions to this, which include U.S. citizens or U.S. permanent residents. They're still allowed to do this. Workers under some free trade agreements, like CUSMA, and a few other specific scenarios. So that's the first announcement, is about flagpoling, which means there is no more flagpoling. If you want to apply for a new status, you have to do so online from inside Canada with IRCC. Even if you have to wait, that's how you have to do it. Now, the next big announcement. There are no more points for a valid job offer in Express Entry. This will be implemented in spring 2025, just a few months from now. IRCC hasn't given a specific date for this, and until it's implemented, it's not implemented. That means if you already have an invitation, if you get invited and can apply before this takes effect, you'll still have a valid job offer. But before that, what is a valid job offer in Express Entry? So a valid job offer means you have either a job associated with an LMIA, so either a previously approved LMIA where you already have the work permit for it, or you have a current valid LMIA approval letter which you want to use in your application for permanent residence via Express Entry. Another way you can have a valid job offer in Express Entry is if you have an LMIA exempt, employer specific work permit and you have worked for that employer for at least 1 year. So that is one way that people could get points in Express Entry, but it happens less often than simply having an LMIA. Normally, I'll say right now at this moment, a valid job offer in Express Entry will give you 50 points to your CRS profile in Express Entry. 50 points is a significant sum, and people used this to increase their score, of course, to have a high enough score to get an invitation. If you were very lucky, you could get 200 points if your NOC code was in a senior management or executive position, NOC 00. But the problem that has come up in recent times, or at least that the government has recognized, is that LMIAs were supposed to be a last resort for employers. But over the years, both IRCC and ESDC, who processes LMIAs, have found that some employers and some workers have been taking advantage of this system, and so they've been using it not as the way it's been intended to be used, as this last resort for Canadian employers to hire foreign workers. As a way to sort of limit and prevent misuse and fraud, IRCC recently announced this change in the CRS points system, where a valid job offer will no longer give you points. So again, this hasn't been implemented yet. It's only been announced. In spring 2025 is when it should be implemented. So what are the consequences of this change in the points system? Well, you might think if no one can get 50 points for a job, then maybe it's a bit of an even playing ground now. Canada will look at work experience, education, language ability. Those are something everyone can equally get, whereas some people don't have access to a job from a Canadian employer. That is a potential, so maybe we could see the CRS score reduce a little bit for the invitations. This may not happen, but we'll see. We also have to keep in mind that the categories still exist, so IRCC may still focus on French speakers or those with experience in healthcare or STEM occupations. But overall, it is difficult to predict this. All we can say is that it's been announced that as of spring 2025, there will be no more points for valid job offers in Express Entry, which includes LMIAs and non-LMIAs alike. Although this was not necessarily good news for our viewers, we do appreciate your feedback, and if you enjoy our content and want to hear more about Canadian immigration, you could consider subscribing. Otherwise, have a happy holidays, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.